And we are back with Bedtime Stories, Grown-Up Edition, Collateral Damage, Part 14. Child, when we left off, Michael was instrumental in helping Q and LJ find out everything there was to know about the lawyer that Veronica was seeing. And the team had done what was necessary to track him down and confront him. When Donovan played the tape of his last interaction with Veronica, and LJ showed that man the cash check for 500 G's that Donovan gave her, he was shocked, pissed, and apologetic. After he told them everything that he knew, he agreed not to call the police on them, and they agreed not to call the police on him. Technically, they were all guilty of kidnapping. They had kidnapped him, and he had helped Veronica kidnap Donovan's kids. So, they were even. At the conclusion of their lengthy discussion, Woody returned Abdul to his vehicle outside of his gym, and as an additional incentive, he showed him photos on his cell phone of that man's family, told him exactly where they were at that very moment, and recounted their whereabouts for the last few days. Then he said, if you want to keep your ex-wife and your children safe, you won't have a change of heart. Wait until you see my vehicle exit this parking lot, turn, and you can't see it anymore before you get in your car and drive away. Understand? Confused about why all that was necessary, Abdul said, okay. Then he stood in front of the gym and did exactly as Woody said. Zoe was back at the firm. He had hacked into the gym's surveillance camera system. He edited the footage to make it appear like Woody had left the gym parking lot hours ago, and like Abdul had left in his own vehicle hours before as well. When they snatched Abdul, one of the PIs removed his keys from his pocket and drove his car out of the parking lot. So if Abdul ever did have a change of heart and the surveillance camera footage was pulled, it would look like he left the gym hours before, came back, and left again, all of his own free will. And it would never show that he'd been in the SUV with Woody at all. While Abdul had provided them with some valuable information, Q already had PIs in Minneapolis. They'd been there for days, so when the team wrapped things up at the hangar and cleaned it up, Q called the PI in Minneapolis. He'd already told Q that the rental car lead had hit a dead end, so he was just waiting for next instructions. Q said, so Veronica left Texas with 250 G's cash and a credit card belonging to Abdul Rahman. According to him, she didn't use the credit card at all after she left Fort Worth. PI said, okay, so I'll go to all of the hotels here that accept cash for reservations. Q said, right, and focus on the ones that don't have the best surveillance systems. Veronica's smart enough to have tried to avoid them. Woody will be on the first plane in the morning. He's going to see if he can connect with somebody in the underground. I'm almost positive that Veronica connected with a forger to get passports for herself and the kids. The next morning, Q and LJ updated the entire family on all of the most recent developments. When Donovan said that he was going to Minneapolis to look for them, the Queen Mother said, now Donovan, you are too smart for that. It should be obvious to you that Veronica is not in Minnesota. Clearly, she went there to lay low and get her ducks in a row so that she could leave the country. The girl is probably in Mexico or somewhere like that. Be patient. We're getting close. Donovan said, Medea, it's been over a month. You refused to involve the families. You told me that Manny's on it, but I haven't heard a word from him. And my 12-year-old nephew is the one who got us this far. I feel like Veronica's running a damn circus and I'm her main clown. Then Angela said, well, technically, Donovan, it was Rennie who gave us the real clue. And it was Q who connected the dots. Then Michael provided a great suggestion. So this has certainly been a group effort. And then Maribel said, and as far as my father is concerned, silence does not mean inaction. My father is not a blow-by-blow update kind of man. It's more of the show up at your front door with your kids in tow and tell you the story kind of man. The Queen Mother said, exactly, you should know that by now, Donovan. Then Donovan said, why is she even here? We not together no more. Queen Mother said, Donovan, would you cut it out? She's family, and we invited her. After breakfast, she's going to give us couples a lesson in how to give one another sensual massages. Donovan was like, ew. When the discussion was over, everyone moved to the dining room for the breakfast planned by the Queen Mother, MomBrenda, and Angela. Before she left the room, the Queen Mother pulled Maribel to the side and said, so are you sick of him yet? Maribel chuckled and said, no. The Queen Mother said, good. So that means you haven't given up on him then. Maribel said, no. It's called self-preservation. I'm just keeping my distance until all of this is worked out. Until he's in a better position to be able to think clearly and more maturely about having a serious relationship. And he's going to have to develop the tools necessary to be able to manage the difficulties that life brings while also showing up in healthy ways in the areas of his life that aren't in crisis. Thus far, he's demonstrated that he has a one-track mind, and that won't work. And thus far, I can't see how my presence has made this situation any better. A man who can't appreciate my presence can certainly enjoy my absence. The Queen Mother said, I know that's right. That boy is going to have to stop majoring in the minors. And only a silly woman would think that she'd be capable of teaching him how to do that. Let him figure it out on his own. Maribel said, my thoughts exactly. The Queen Mother said, and that is why I like and love you, Maribel. I already respected you, but I respect you even more now that my Andy finally told me where he'd been sneaking off to. He told me that he'd been meeting you several times a week to get items that Donovan needs. I thought that man was stepping out on me. Maribel chuckled and said, Queen Bella, that is too cute. The Queen Mother said, no, it's not. I was going to blow that man's brains out. I don't play that. Maribel said, oh my word. Well, I hope that he told you that I swore him to secrecy, but not from you. Queen Mother said, no, he told me that you'd been giving him the herbs and the fruits and vegetables and beverages that Donovan needs for his regimen, making sure that he doesn't run out. Now, I'm sure that he's noticed that his supply isn't dwindling, but I'm sure he doesn't think that it's you. Maribel said, good, because that's what I want. I don't want him to think that I'm trying to use his mental health condition to stay connected to him. I want him to feel like we're done. The Queen Mother said, now that might backfire. I think this whole situation with Veronica has made it a lot less likely that he'll push back when a woman tells him no. Maribel said, and that's a risk that I am willing to take. But for the record, I haven't told him anything. I just stopped calling him since he stopped accepting my calls. He hasn't at all tried to contact me or converse with me in any way. So it's not like I've been ignoring or avoiding him. I've just fallen back and let the chips fall where they may. The Queen Mother said, oh, okay. Well, let me ask you this. Have you talked to your father at all about what's going on with Veronica? Maribel said, not since the day that I confronted him and he told me that he would find her. But I'm going back to PR tomorrow. And I plan to converse with him about it face to face as soon as I get. Several days have passed, and the PI that Q sent to Minneapolis has made a huge break in the case. He calls Q and says, boss, you sitting down? Q says, do I need to? The PI says, yes, preferably at your computer. Q said, I am. The PI says, are you logged into the firm server? Q said, I am. The PI said, you see those files I just uploaded? Then Q opened up 3 photos. They were copies of passports bearing the images of Veronica, Chance, and Bella, with the names Claudia, Clarence, and Claire Davis. When Q shows LJ the photos, they were both sick with the realization that Veronica and the kids could be anywhere in the world. Then Zoe walked in and said, I got news, and y'all not gonna believe this. Q said, you too? Zoe said, You too? What's up? Q said, you first. And then Zoe said, I flagged that offshore account that my father created for Veronica. It's just been wiped out. She transferred all of the funds. The transaction was initiated in Mexico, and the funds were transferred to another offshore account. Then LJ said, okay, I don't know everything there is to know about offshore accounts, but I'm pretty sure I know how they work. In order to initiate a transfer when the account is frozen, you have to appear in person, correct? Then Q and Zoe said in unison, correct. Then LJ said, so she'd have to show ID, identifying her as Veronica Mills, correct? And then Q and Zoe said in unison again, correct. Then Q showed Zoe the passport photos. Then Zoe said, well, she's in Mexico right now, but she'd have to be a fool to stay there. Q said, right. Even if she doesn't know that we know about these passports, she's too smart to take that chance. Zoe said, she froze the account because she knew my father was trying to get that money back. So she's got to know that we're watching it, and we know she transferred those funds. She transferred them to another offshore account. So unless we already had the account information, that money is gone without a trace. Q said, I'll send a PI to Mexico just in case you put a trace on the passports. LJ said, and I'll check customs to see where they've been used so far. I think this game is over. Then Q called the Queen Mother. He said, I need to talk to Uncle Idra. I got a sneaky suspicion that I know where Veronica is. Idra isn't Q's biological uncle. He's the brother of Q, Donovan, and Anya's godfather, Anand. And he's the head of the Charles family, one of the 4 active members of the notorious 5 families. So Q is ready to bring in the big gun. What he and LJ don't know is that early that morning, Veronica took a plane to Mexico under her fake identity. And when she arrived, she went to a P.O. box where she retrieved the only mail inside, an envelope containing her real U.S. passport. Then she went to Scotiabank, an international bank where travelers can complete financial transactions for any account at any bank around the world, including offshore accounts. She met with a personal banker, handed him her U.S. passport bearing her real name, and had him lift the international freeze on that offshore account. Then she had him transfer every dime to another offshore account bearing her original name, and cut multiple traveler's checks and cashier's checks made out to her fake name, Claudia Davis.